Now, with some breaking news out of the NBA, we've got OG Anunoby intending to sign a 5-year, $212.5 million deal with the Knicks. And here to help us break down this breaking news is CBS Sports NBA analyst and one third of the members of the Beyond the Arc podcast. Let's get in John Gonzalez. All right, John, welcome. Thank you for seeing us today. What do you make of this deal for OG?
Yeah, Katie, this was a priority for the Knicks. I mean, all things coming up Knicks right now, right? First, last night, they make a massive trade with the Brooklyn Nets and acquire Mikal Bridges, who's an awesome two-way player, a 3-and-D prototype that can really guard your best offensive option on the other team. And now you have OG Anunoby, who they acquired at last trade deadline from the Toronto Raptors. And he's really the same thing. So there's some nice redundancy here for the New York Knicks. Now, the question is about the size of this contract and the length of this contract, because OG, he's 26, about to be 27, so entering his prime, but he's only played 65 games once in the last 4 years. So there has been some injury concern here. But when he plays, he's been awesome, Katie. When he was with the Knicks, they were 26-5, and now you add him into the lineup with Mikal Bridges. So their wing defenders are going to be amazing. Jalen Brunson, who was a top 5 MVP candidate. Julius Randle, who was hurt, he'll be back. And then you'll figure out what you're going to do with your center situation. Probably means that Isaiah Hartenstein is moving on because you're signing OG to this big contract. But really a priority for the Knicks and ultimately a win for them.
I love it. And look, I think that your co-host, Ashley Nicole Moss, is probably very excited by this news. I do see that Sixers jersey over your shoulder there, so maybe you're not quite as excited. But does this Knicks team, as it's currently constructed, feel like a championship contender for you?
Yeah, with respect to the Sixers, I've been dead inside when it comes to them for a long time, so you don't have to worry about that. But for the New York Knicks, yes, absolutely. I mean, they were already contenders, certainly in the Eastern Conference. I would have had them prior to the Mikal Bridges trade as the chief contenders to beat the Boston Celtics and potentially unseat them. Now, for sure, you add in Mikal Bridges and you lock down OG, and it looked like OG was always going to stick around, but having him under contract soon, once you can officially sign him to the deal, and knowing you can pair him with Mikal Bridges. I mean, the number one thing when you look at the Boston Celtics and how to contend and potentially unseat them in the Eastern Conference is, all right, well, who we're going to throw at Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown? Well, now you got two answers here. As long as OG Anunoby is healthy and Mikal Bridges is always available, then yes, they're absolutely contenders in the Eastern Conference. And then if they can get out of the East, that's going to make them contenders in the NBA as well. And really, Katie, we saw how deep the Celtics were this season with their first 5. I would put the Knicks' first 5 up against them for sure. And really, when you go to their bench, when you go to, Josh Hart and Dante DiVincenzo, who are now going to move to the bench from starters roles last season, along with Deuce McBride and whoever their backup big is, there's a case to be made for them being deeper through their first 8 or 9 than the Boston Celtics. So yeah, the Knicks have done a really nice job setting themselves up.
All right, well, you kind of already leaned into it a little bit, but what would you say is next for the Knicks, right? Isaiah Hartenstein still remains a free agent. That might be the biggest question mark.
Yeah, this is a problem, right? And it's first world problems if you're the New York Knicks. You obviously want to re-sign Isaiah Hartenstein. Our colleague at CBSSports.com, Sam Quinn, wrote a really good piece that I encourage people to go check out that kind of explains why it's going to be difficult for them. Not to get too into the weeds and too wonky on the CBA, but they have his early bird rights, which means that they can pay him an average on his new contract if he were to re-sign somewhere north of $16 million, but not too much more than that. Under normal circumstances, you go, sounds like a pretty good payday for a guy who started the year as a backup big. But going into this free agency, it's a thin free agent group. And there's some teams out there that are looking for bigs who have money to spend. The Orlando Magic. And then principally, I think the big landing spot for him could be the Oklahoma City Thunder. They've been looking for a big man, literally a big man, somebody bigger than Chet Holmgren physically, to be a backup big there. They were the youngest #1 seed in NBA history. Their star is on the rise. They could throw a contract at him, Katie, somewhere in the 2 years, $50 million range. And you say, all right, that's only 2 years, but he's only 26 years old. And that would allow him to re-enter free agency at 28 when the salary cap is about to go back up. So he'd get short-term money and then set himself up for a bigger long-term money deal. He might take a discount, hometown discount with the Knicks, but I wouldn't count on it.
Wouldn't count on that. Well, we can always count on you, John Gonzalez. Thank you for hopping on and breaking down this breaking news with us. Appreciate you. And don't forget, everybody, NBA Draft on the clock coverage tonight on CBS Sports HQ. Coverage starting at 7 p.m. Eastern. You're not going to miss it.